Well, as Donald Trump gets ready to move in, the White House press corps could soon be moving out. The other day, we told you about Esquire's report saying they could get booted, that being the press, from the briefing room and move to another building altogether. Now, one of Trump's people told Esquire, quote, "They, meaning the press, are the opposition party. I want them out of the building. We are taking back the press room," end quote. Well, this morning, incoming White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer addressed that. Here's what he had to say.
There is a tremendous interest, frankly, an unprecedented interest in covering this president. The demand and enthusiasm to understand the agenda that he has and what he's going to be doing is, frankly, unprecedented. We have tried to be accommodating and looked at additional room space. As we've announced previously, we're going to continue, as I noted, we'll host the first meeting in the James Brady briefing room. It's going to be a little cramped, I imagine, but that's where we'll hold at least the first couple briefings for now.
Catch that last part? For now? Well, let's bring in ABC News analyst Cokie Roberts to talk about that and more. Cokie, thank you so much.
Good to be with you.
I'll get in the inauguration, but first, what we heard today from Mr. Spicer, if there was, if not an undeclared war with the media, certainly today to not tamp down here, that it's an us and them. Can you remember something right off the bat so adversarial? And how does this thing end, especially if they kick them across the street?
Well, there have been in the past, certainly, presidents who wanted to get the press out of the White House, and they haven't really succeeded in doing it. And I certainly expect press briefings can be across the street. That would not be a terrible disaster. The real thing that's necessary is to be in the space where you can get to the White House press staff and be able to just go, it's like down a little hallway, and talk to the staff. Otherwise, you don't really have a clue what's going on. If you're just locked out of the White House, it becomes an impossible job.
Is the greater worry, if you're the administration, the incoming, the acrimony, or is it also that the ramped up concern with the absence of not only transparency, but also that there's a conduit, that you can answer the important questions if posed to you? If you were advising the Trump administration whether to do this or not, what should they consider that maybe they're not hearing right now as to an eventual downside? I've never seen somebody go to war with the media and win. Why would it be any different this time?
Well, I think that Donald Trump feels very strongly that he can go directly to the American people without the filter of the media. And to some degree, President Obama felt that way. He had a lot of broadcasting straight from the White House on their own feed and also did use social media, and then chose to do a lot of one-on-one interviews with individual members of the press rather than big press conferences. But Donald Trump has said in a tweet, that tweeting is great, that it's like the New York Times without the losses. And so I think that he feels that he doesn't need anybody between him and the people, and that he certainly doesn't want people saying that what he says is not accurate. And of course, that has been his experience with a lot of his coverage.
Well, speaking of his messaging, do you expect tomorrow we hear a presidential address, or do you think he continues with the untraditional, not just communication modem, but also style, and continues to promise the world and then some tomorrow about how great everything's going to be?
Well, I think he is likely to talk about how great everything's going to be, but I also think that it's going to be presidential. I think that he is likely to try to reach out to people, to try to unify people. Whether he actually addresses groups in the population who have been feeling very wounded since the election, I don't know whether he's likely to do that or not. But I do think that he's made it clear that he wants to be short and eloquent, and we'll see if he can pull that off.
We will, and it's finally now we're almost there. But anyway, Cokie, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Coming up next, well, Donald Trump, he promised to drain the swamp and clean up Washington, but by almost any objective standard, if you look at the cabinet he has put together, things, well, they're looking pretty murky.